Episode number 111. It was nothing but a plan of attack against the cardinal. The queen pressed her brother and the emperor of Austria to appear to be wounded, as they really were, by the policy of Richelieu, the eternal object of which was the abasement of the House of Austria, to declare war against France, and as a condition of peace, to insist upon the dismissal of the cardinal. But as to love, there was not a single word about it in all the letter. The king, quite delighted, inquired if the cardinal was still at the Louvre. He was told that his eminence awaited the orders of his majesty in the business cabinet. The king went straight to him. "There, duke," said he, "you were right, and I was wrong. The whole intrigue is political, and there is not the least question of love in this letter, but, on the other hand, there is abundant question of you." The cardinal took the letter, and read it with the greatest attention. Then, when he had arrived at the end of it, he read it a second time. "Well, your majesty," said he, "you see how far my enemies go. They menace you with 2 words if you do not dismiss me. In your place, in truth, sir, I should yield to such powerful instance, and on my part, it would be a real happiness to withdraw from public affairs. What say you, duke?" "I say, sir, that my health is sinking under these excessive struggles and these never-ending labors. I say that according to all probability I shall not be able to undergo the fatigues of the siege of La Rochelle, and that it would be far better that you should appoint there either Monsieur de Condé, Monsieur de Bassompierre, or some valiant gentleman whose business is war, and not me, who am a churchman, and who am constantly turned aside for my real vocation to look after matters for which I have no aptitude. You would be the happier for it at home, sir, and I do not doubt you would be the greater for it abroad." "Monsieur Duke," said the king, "I understand you. Be satisfied, all who are named in that letter shall be punished as they deserve, even the queen herself." "What do you say, sir? God forbid that the queen should suffer the least inconvenience or uneasiness on my account. She has always believed me, sir, to be her enemy, although your majesty can bear witness that I have always taken a part warmly, even against you. Oh, if she betrayed your majesty on the side of your honor, it would be quite another thing, and I should be the first to say, no grace, sir, no grace for the guilty. Happily, there is nothing of the kind, and your majesty has just acquired a new proof of it." "That is true, Monsieur Cardinal," said the king, "and you were right, as you always are, but the queen, not the less, deserves all my anger. It is you, sir, who have now incurred hers, and even if she were to be seriously offended, I could well understand it. Your majesty has treated her with a severity. It is thus I will always treat my enemies, and yours, duke, however high they may be placed, and whatever peril I may incur in acting civilly towards them. The queen is my enemy, but is not yours, sir. On the contrary, she is a devoted, submissive, and irreproachable wife. Allow me, then, sir, to intercede for with your majesty.